Here we go. Welcome, Average Joe Nation from around the globe. Props to you for staying up to date and keeping in the know. With fantasy football, man, very soon you'll reign. The knowledge that these three guys have, man, it is insane. Yeah, fantasy football talk hateful eight, they wear the crown. Hold it down. Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli, hold it down. Pulling up to the recording studio, we're getting loud. Getting ready, headphones on, red light go, break it down.
Welcome back to the Hateful Eight Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Pickle. With me, as always, to my left, Blackburn.
What's up?
Trimboli is not in today, as you can see. The chair is empty, unfortunately, but he'll be back next week. He just, unfortunately, schedule-wise, couldn't make it today. So we'll try to keep the ship afloat, just discussing some tight end questions as well as just some listener questions from you guys later today. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and obviously if you're on YouTube, you're already probably watching us. But we also, for the local Dayton audience, we're on DATV on Sundays at 4 p.m. as well as on Friday nights at I believe 10:30. So you can catch us on week-to-week basis for that. We are on any of your major platforms for podcasts as well, so that makes it easy for you guys, whether you want to listen in the car on the ride home or on the way into work, or if you got time at home, you want to fire up the TV and watch us that way. So you can find us on Twitter at the Hateful8FF, and I'm at JPickle TH8FF. He's at JBlackburn TH8FF. And at FTrim TH8FF. Today's main segment, as we talked about last week, was going to be talking about way too early rankings tight ends. Yep. So it's not the most fun topics, but it is, to me personally, I know that we talk about how running back drafting is important, but to me, making sure that you hit on a tight end, if you're not going to get one of these elite one or two guys that we're going to discuss later, maybe even three now, you're really going to be searching and hoping and watching, kind of like how these guys late, like last year with Kittle, where you just kind of under the radar guys that you see potential, but not many people know about them, and maybe you can get them later in the draft.
Right. Well, it depends on your league too. Like the tight end premium leagues, this is really important to pay attention to.
Yes, very much so. So let's go ahead, and we're going to go ahead and get today's first segment, fantasy news and notes.
Fantasy news and notes.
All right. Fantasy news and notes presented by Sleeper. If you're wanting to stay up to date on all things fantasy football news-wise, then make sure you download the app Sleeper on iOS or Android. Plus, you can also transfer over your fantasy football leagues to them as well. They have redraft, dynasty, and keeper settings. And they have all the different settings of the premiums, like tight end premium, 2 quarterbacks, whatever you want to do. They have that all for you guys. So the first one today, Tevin Coleman is slated to potentially be the 49ers short yardage back per Kyle Shanahan at the the coaches meetings over the past week. So I think that's a good thing if they know for sure that he's going to be the guy etched in, but I still think it's just a giant cluster there in the 49ers backfield till they kind of sort through and maybe cut some guys or trade them away or something.
With McKinnon and Breida, it's crowded.
Yeah, and then you even got Mostert that they brought back. So, it's just, you got 4 or 5 guys.
So do you think this hurts Coleman's overall draft stock?
I think it helps fantasy owners because I think he eventually will be the main guy by season end. It's just, unfortunately, you're going to have to wait till, I'd say, probably 3/4 of the way through the season before you really get any type of payback for the drafting of him.
Right.
So I think they're going to try to switch these guys out one at a time. But, and then the next one, let's go ahead and get, I think we still have him. Do I have it? No, I don't have it. I do.
Turn up the Mac.
Yeah, we'll return the Mac, Marlon Mack. We've got him. He's believed to be the bell cow for the Indianapolis Colts this year. They did not go out and sign Le'Veon Bell or bring in any other type of running back. Now, the draft obviously still could potentially help or hurt him if they bring in one of these running backs. But to me, it seems like the front office, the owner, the coaching staff, they all believe in Marlon Mack to be the bell cow, and coming off of a 1,000-yard rushing season.
Right. I
think that's a good thing, and I think that bodes well for people who want to draft him. And his ADP steadily climbed last year once they did not bring in some bigger name guys, and I think his name's going to continue to rise in ADP this year, especially if they're not going to be drafting, if they don't draft like a Josh Jacobs or somebody else that's a little bit more a traditional back setup. So, you got Nyheim Hines, who he kind of factored in at times, but he showed that he couldn't be a main ball carrier. Marlon Mack was the only one to me.
Yeah, Nyheim Hines is basically game script. Mack showed that he can catch too, so he should be like, you should pick him up early. I'm talking about second, third round.
All right. I was going to say, I think his ADP right now is like 4th round. So, I mean, I could see it definitely rolling into that 3rd round for sure as we get closer. Post-NFL draft for sure.
If they don't draft.
If they draft somebody, I could see them potentially, unfortunately, I could see his ADP kind of taking a back step a couple rounds. But, and this one for the Redskin fans, Trey Quinn, the favorite for the Redskins slot receiver job per Gruden. I think that's a good thing that you at least have established, and this is a role that Jamison Crowder played in over the last couple of years, and when he was healthy was successful.
Right.
So I was going to say, as a 49ers fan, what is your take on them nominating, I guess, or at least slating in Trey Quinn to be that guy?
I'm not a 49ers fan. I'm a Redskins fan. But, yes, I think I like him a lot. He showed a lot of progress last year until he got hurt. So it depends on who the quarterback is. Right now, I'm not excited about Colt McCoy or, it's basically,
Case Keenum.
Yeah, I don't even want to acknowledge that. But I hope we can get Josh Rosen or one of these rookie quarterbacks in, because I think in PPR formats especially, Quinn can be a good pick.
Yeah. Now for the Giants fans, Eli Manning is expected to remain with the Giants through 2020. So I'm wondering now. I don't know if the perception that everybody seems to have is that Gettleman is not a very intelligent person when it comes to making moves with like players and stuff like that in and out of the team.
Well, they did all right with the OBJ trade.
I think they got a decent amount. I think they did the best that they probably could for OBJ with the question marks that the people had around him. Now my question is, do you think this is a smokescreen and they're still going to go get a Kyler Murray or a Dwayne Haskins? Or do you think that they don't think they want one of those guys, but they know that if they show their hand, they're not going to get him, so they have to play the Eli's our guy through 2020? Or do you think they really believe Eli is the guy for 2020?
Well, he's still on the team, right?
Right.
So I'm thinking that they really like Eli. I'm not going to say they're not going to try to get a Haskins if he's there for him, but I could totally see them getting like a Locke or Daniel Jones or somebody like that later on with that second first-round pick they have, and just rolling with Eli and have that quarterback sit with him for 2 years.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that they do get a quarterback in this draft, because I think the next draft class, although it is a deeper quarterback draft class, I don't think that they're going to have a shot at getting those guys potentially next year, depending on how well. I mean, technically, I guess if they roll with Eli and what they're getting ready to put out on the field offensively, they may not win a whole lot of games, unfortunately. They may actually have a better shot at one of these, the big, deep quarterback class next year.
The tank for Tua.
Right. I mean, I know the Dolphins are doing that, so maybe they'll jump in on that one. More quarterback news. Jimmy Garoppolo is expected to be fully clear to play and practice in training camp. So I think that's a good thing for the 49ers and fans as well. For fantasy purposes, that's a good thing, because I think he's going to be obviously the better option out of the 3 quarterbacks that played all total last year. So
that rookie didn't do too bad, though.
Mullins was not bad at all. Right. I mean, he stepped in, and I mean, he played in a big way for that game that he came in that first game, and he kind of did okay for the rest of the year. He didn't do great, but he wasn't like horrible either. I mean, there was actual starting quarterbacks that were doing worse.
Well, he didn't really have a lot of options either. I mean, Garcon went down, Goodwin went down. Right. It was basically the Kittle show.
It was him and Pettis every once in a while, and then they had Breida for 2 plays, and it was just a bad. I mean, there was just a lot of injuries for the 49ers offense in general last year. I mean, you think about all the guys that got hurt throughout the year. I mean, it's a surprise that Kittle was healthy by the end of the season. He really wasn't even that healthy either. So, and then Duke Johnson skipping OTAs. It sounds like his agent has made a push to the Browns organization saying, please trade him.
Yeah, they let him know officially that he wants to be traded.
Which I think I hate to say, but I think this helps Nick Chubb,
yeah.
But I also think this helps Kareem Hunt. If you're going to draft Nick Chubb, and we were talking about last week, or 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the running back setup, to me, that was the biggest question, is if Duke Johnson was going to be there. If Duke Johnson's gone draft day, and they don't go get a draft pick of a running back, that to me tells me that they're banking on investing on Kareem Hunt this year.
They're going to bring somebody in. You got to think Kareem Hunt suspended for 8 games.
Right.
And if their bye week happens to be after week 8, that's 9 games that he's going to be out.
Right. I think my biggest thing is the question of like who they're bringing in. Like,
I mean, there's still a lot of free. T.J. Yeldon's out there.
He actually just got picked up, I believe. I forget who he got picked up by. It just came out the other day. Maybe not. Actually, no. That was Alfred Blue. Never mind. Anyways, so here's another Redskins note. Josh Rosen is still a potential option for the Redskins. So as a Redskins fan, are you happy that this is still a potential? Or would you much rather go take a Haskins or a Murray if possible?
I like Haskins. We're not going to be able to get Murray.
Okay, so a Lock, or who's the other guy that they've talked about?
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones as well.
The kid from West Virginia.
Greer.
Yeah.
So out of those
out
names,
of all
would you
those,
like Rosen most?
I like Haskins and Rosen to me are about the same. But then you got Locke, Jones, and Greer. I think Rosen's better than all three of those guys.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, as a Cowboys fan, I'm not excited to see the Redskins actually be successful. So if they could get a good quarterback, whether that be a Haskins or a Rosen, I think that immediately helps that offense and being able to push the ball down the field some and takes pressure off the run game as well. So
Right. I think it's a lock that Arizona is going to pick Kyler Murray.
It sounds like
they're
it.
just playing their hand on what they want to do for compensation for Josh Rosen.
Right.
Chargers have already offered him a second-round pick.
And they made it very clear that's not good enough.
Right. I think when draft day rolls around, or as we get closer to the draft, I think their stance will change a little bit.
Okay. Russell Wilson gives an April 15th deadline for extension talks. It sounds like he's basically put his foot down and said, please sign me to a new deal, what I'm worth, by April 15th, or... I mean, it sounds like it's kind of like an ultimatum. Now, I don't think he's going to sit, but to me, it could be a potential Kirk Cousins situation where it's a what are you going to call it, where he gets franchise tag.
Right.
So I don't know.
Well, remember back in like the Pro Bowl, they were saying that there was that rumor that he was going to get traded to the Giants.
Right.
So I mean, who knows?
I don't know.
They'd be dumb to do that though.
Right. Now the signing section: Isaiah Crowell signs a 1-year deal with the Raiders, $2.5 million. I think that's kind of like a plug and play.
Yeah.
And we're unsure of what
Lynch
is going to do.
They still got Richard.
So they got Richard, and they still have Chris Warren III as well. So
Yep.
I just think that's more insurance, like you said. Alfred Blue signs a 1-year deal with the Jaguars, which tells me obviously they're not bringing back Yeldon.
Nope.
So because he's essentially kind of the same style play,
Right.
in my opinion.
Back up for Fournette.
And then C.J. Anderson agrees to terms with the Lions in a 1-year deal, which I think this helps overall the offense, but I think he's kind of going to be what they wanted LeGarrette Blount to be last year.
My thing is, why would the Rams do that? Like, why would they let him go? He did so
they
well
like,
for them.
They like Malcolm Brown better, apparently.
I mean,
or for less, so I don't know.
I think this hurts
Carry on. Yes, I do.
I'm not a big Carry On fan as it is, but this definitely will hurt that.
Yeah. All right. No released major stuff to talk about, but traded. Jordan Howard traded to the Eagles for a 6th-round pick in 2020. Essentially, it was a throwaway trade.
Yeah, I mean,
They
they
gave him
basically
up
got
for
him for a fun-sized Snicker bar is what it was. That's what it equated to.
I don't understand how you could just give away a player for little to nothing. And I understand you don't think he's valuable, but clearly there were teams that were thinking he was valuable.
They know he's valuable, but this is his last year on his rookie contract, and they didn't want to throw all that money at him.
Right.
Especially when he doesn't really fit their offense. Tariq Cohen's the guy there.
Yeah, I don't know. But good for the Eagles. I mean, as a Cowboys fan, I don't like to see that. But
I don't like that at all.
I know Jordan Howard is going to be what they were hoping to have over the last couple of years from Jay Ajayi, like steadily. But I think it's a good thing for them. So, all right. Now we're going to go ahead and get into some listener questions. We asked you guys to send some in. So we're going to go transition into the Take It or Leave It segment.
Take it or leave it.
All right, take it or leave it. The questions from you guys, the listeners. We got some questions from the Sleeper app as well as on Twitter. The first one that we got from Sleeper is Greenman22 writes, in Dynasty, what do you think Baker Mayfield's value is? To me, I think he's a top 3 quarterback. He's up there in the Mahomes talk as well as some of these the younger quarterbacks in general is what and I know that people talk about if it's not 2 quarterbacks set up, it's not really quarterbacks aren't a premium. But to me, in a dynasty, you can have the best team at running back, wide receiver, tight end, but if your quarterback is horrible, it's a bad day. And you want somebody who's going to be there long term. And Mayfield's offense just took a big leap forward in and they seem to be wanting to make him successful and putting as many pieces around him. How many guys are? I mean, all 3 of those. Or 4 guys, I should say, with Landry and Odell just getting traded, Nick Chubb, as well as Njoku, all young guys.
Callaway.
Right. These are all young guys that are in their early 20s. So this is a successful quarterback with I would say, an average to above average team last year. To me, like a really good team on paper this year. So I like Baker Mayfield as a top 3 quarterback in Dynasty right now.
I think he's at the bottom of the tier 1 guys.
Yeah. I mean, he could be. I just
I'd rather have like Luck, Watson, Mahomes obviously is number one.
Right.
Those are all young guys too. I'd rather have all three of those before I take Baker.
yeah, no, I understand. So maybe in the top 4 talk. So now Nacho Taco, a favorite of the show, writes
Yes, he
in.
is.
What is your top 3 running back, wide receiver, tight end, and quarterback as well?
All right, you go first.
For
Quarterbacks.
me, for quarterbacks, I've got Mahomes, Luck, and Watson. I think we're pretty well.
Yep, I got the same thing.
Okay, and then running backs, I had Barkley, Zeke, and Christian McCaffrey, and you had.
Barkley, Gurley, and McCaffrey.
Okay, and then wide receivers, I've got Hopkins, Adams, and Michael Thomas, and you had.
Hopkins, Hill, Adams.
Okay, so pretty well the same. Now, you can go back and listen to our way too early ranking running backs, wide receivers, and quarterbacks. Now, we're not going to give you the tight ends at this point because
Right.
we actually are going to discuss those later on, so you get a feel as to what we're talking
the
about.
main point of the show.
Right. So, and then I don't want to butcher his handle. Do you want to take a shot at this one or no?
TD Awagi or Awaji?
T-Dogwe? So, anyways,
I don't know.
if you're listening, we apologize. It says, can you dive into a bit of analysis and more so rank the middle tier wide receivers? So guys like Landry, Godwin, Allen Robinson, Sutton, Mike Williams, Kirk, and Boyd. So
I mean, that's a lot to
that's a lot
digest
of-
right there.
that is. I just kind of put the guys in my personal opinion. I just have Landry, Boyd, Robinson, Godwin, Kirk, Mike Williams, and Sutton. And I think that's based on opportunity for me as well as the offense for them. I think Landry's in a good offense with good opportunity, and I think he's not going to see double coverage. Boyd is not going to see double coverage. Robinson may see double coverage because he still is technically the one on the roster.
Right.
Godwin, that offense, I think he's the third best reception option, depending on which wide receiver if Pettis is healthy or not. Because you've got Kittle, you'll have the running back, whether that's McKinnon or Tevin Coleman, and then you got Godwin. To me.
Godwin's on.
Oh, I thought it was Goodwin.
No, Godwin's Buccaneers.
Oh, I just butchered that. I
It's all
apologize.
good though.
Okay, well, Godwin to me is is still ahead of the other guys just because in Tampa Bay he's going to see a lot of field stretching opportunities.
For me, it's Godwin. I got Godwin number one because
Ooh.
with Humphreys leaving, he's going to see a lot of targets.
All right.
And he can also stretch the field. I got Boyd number 2.
Okay.
He showed last year he's able to carry the weight there.
Okay.
I got Mike Williams, then Landry, Robinson, Kirk, and Sutton.
Okay.
I like Godwin. He's a big riser this year.
Yeah, I thought it was Goodwin, so that's why I kind of had him in the middle of the pack. To me, Godwin is up there with Boyd and Landry, obviously. So
Yeah.
I read that wrong. Now, Nick 153 says, what do you think of my dynasty team? His quarterbacks are Mayfield and Mariota. His running backs are Henry, Howard, Eckler, Edmonds, McKinnon, Hines. Wide receivers are Hopkins, Hill, Tate, Galladay, Moncrief, Dorsett, Samuel, Kane, and Quinn. And then his tight ends are McDonald, James, and Goddard.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. I like the team overall, but
Yeah.
to me, when he asked, to me, I'm going to come as a counter and tell you that your quarterback position's a little weak. Mariota's is
trash.
the issue.
Trash.
So I don't remember what picture he has this year, but I would be trying to get a quarterback in this draft class to kind of build
you
with
could
Baker.
package McKinnon and one of your your low end receivers and get a quarterback
Right.
or something. I like McDonald a lot this year.
And the nice thing is he's got McDonald and James who just separated from the same team, which is a
And
good
Goddard. Goddard's underrated.
Right.
If something was to happen to Zach Ertz, then Goddard's the guy.
thing. Right. So I think this is overall a good team. I think running back depth, he needs to get a little bit more maybe. But overall, I think that his biggest, low point on his team is the quarterback position. Mayfield is a good one. Mariota, not so much.
Yeah, because your two RBs are Henry and Howard.
Yeah.
We don't know how Howard's going to do, and Henry didn't even take off last year until like week 10.
Right. All right. And then the last one for Sleeper, the Boz 221 writes, in a 12-team PPR dynasty, which side has the most value as of today via this trade? He's got Damian Williams in the 106 this year versus Devontae Adams, Chase Edmonds, and the 209 in 2019. I like the Devontae Adams side because he's got a clear cut. You know that he is the guy. I know that we talk about Williams as potentially going to be the main guy, but Carlos Hyde's going to factor in somehow. And the 106 pick, I like that in this draft, but to me, Chase Edmonds is kind of like the throwaway pick in theory, but ultimately, I want who's got the best players involved.
Yeah, I would take Devontae Adams all day in this one.
So, all right, what do we got for the Twitter question side?
First, we got Goodwrench 12. Do you prefer FAAB or FAAB continuous? What's the pros and cons? Also, does camo hide fat?
Hide fat.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it's just all in your mind. Now, fab versus continuous fab, to me, overall, I mean, I just think that personally, if this is your first year of introducing the fab format, I would just do the regular fab and just set a budget of a certain dollar amount and just let it ride for the year and kind of get everybody's feet wet to the concept. Same thing in going from like a non-PPR to PPR. You don't want to go full blown and add all these little like asterisks and changes to the league.
Superflex.
Right. You don't want to add all the Superflex 2 QBs and tight end premium, things like that. Just simple. Go from the regular waiver wire to the fab waiver wire, just standard, switch it over, and then you can kind of dabble into the more the fab continuous after you get at least a year or so of the regular fab format into your league. Because more likely, if you're asking this question, you're probably not sure if these guys are even wanting to switch over to fab.
Right.
So that's what I would do. Same thing as going from a non-PPR to half PPR. So what's the next one?
Yeah, next one's Wilson 27. Is Kareem Hunt even worth a pickup with a bye week involved as well? Like we talked about, if the bye week's after week 8, that's potentially 9 games.
Yeah.
Kareem Hunt's not even going to help you.
Yeah, I put him, yes, if the bye week is later in the season, potentially, because then he's already been suspended and he's playing for so many games. But to me, he is not being, I'm not drafting him, for one, as we talked about. But it would be like, I'm waiting to see how the offense is going right before he's like a week or two before he comes back.
Right.
But even then, it's still, by that time, as in our league, people are watching Kareem Hunt, or would be watching the situation, and about a week or so out would probably be doing the same thing that we're going to do, which is pick him up if we think it's going to be a beneficial pickup.
Right. I mean, I would draft him, but it wouldn't be until you got all your main starters ready. I mean, I'm talking late rounds.
Yeah, like last pick. I don't even know if I could do that, but that's just me. But ultimately,
I think he's worth a stash.
He's a stash guy for sure, but everybody else is going to probably kind of have the same concept, so it's going to be hard to kind of keep. If you don't draft him, it's going to be hard to kind of keep an eye on him for waiver purposes.
Right.
And then he wrote another one. What was his second question?
It said, who will be the second highest catcher in Pittsburgh this year? Moncrief, McDonald, or Washington? I personally think it's going to be McDonald.
I agree with you. I think McDonald, just because he's been in the offense, he already knows the setup, and I think that they're going to rely more so on him. I think James Washington ultimately is going to be the home run threat.
Moncrief, too.
I think Moncrief is going to be another home run threat, but I think he's going to be on the outside, and I think Juju is going to be the main guy. And I almost wanted to put James Conner into this little, like, with an asterisk, because I don't know what we're going to see out of the passing game and the running back setup.
Well, I just seen how much they used both James and McDonald last year, and now all those are going to go to McDonald.
Well, I mean, you have over 100-some targets that are going to dissipated from Antonio Brown.
Right.
And to me, Juju Smith-Schuster is only going to be able to absorb so many of them. So there's going to be at least, I'd say, somewhere between 80 to 90 targets easily that are going to be spread around to these other guys to figure in. And I think McDonald, to me, is ultimately going to be a red zone threat for nothing else.
Yeah.
On the low side, he's a red zone threat, but he's got so much potential that he could potentially be like a Kittle in this offense.
He's a mismatch for linebackers for sure.
So
the next one, or our last one for the Twitter, is Darnell Bright 4. Which recently signed running back on a new team has the best chance to become a RB1 and half PPR this year? It's simple for me. It's Le'Veon Bell.
I was going to say Le'Veon Bell was my obvious one, and then I kind of put like an under the radar. He shouldn't be. I shouldn't say under the radar. A guy that kind of got overshadowed because of like a Le'Veon Bell signing. Mark Ingram, to me, could potentially be right on that outside top 12. Potentially, depending on how well this offense goes in Baltimore.
They still got they got other guys there too, though, and they just rotate running backs.
Yeah.
Plus, you got to worry about Jackson running.
I'm hoping that his touchdown upside is what we're getting into. But I thought Le'Veon Bell for sure was a guy that you're talking about that changed teams.
Especially with half PPR, because he's going to catch a lot, I think.
Target-wise is going to be ridiculous. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into the final segment of today, the way too early rankings for the tight ends.
Way too early rankings. Tight ends.
All right, way too early rankings, tight ends, presented by Trophy Smack. They have over 1,000 different fantasy trophy combinations. You also have fantasy rings and the newly added fantasy championship belts. You can head over to TrophySmack.com, use the promo code TH8FF. You get a free ring with your purchase of your trophy. So that's a cool thing that they give you guys, our listeners, to be able to participate with. So I mean, you see the ring on the table; it's a legit, shiny, nice, big ring. So. Now for me, this was I will tell you, surprising to me that we were on the same page with so many guys.
The first 5, like, oh no.
Well, I know. I mean,
pretty good all the way down.
I would say we are consensus across the board for the first 3. Then randomly number 10 is a consensus across the board as well.
Wow.
So, which normally doesn't happen when we do our way too early rankings. So, but obviously number 1 across the board.
No brainer.
Travis Kelce. We've all got him at 1. He is at 207 for the ADP, which is the current drafting and mock drafts where he's going amongst just general people drafting. So, I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory with Travis Kelce. He's in the best scoring offense and the best
Right.
passing offense.
And if Hill was to get in legal trouble and be out for any amount of time, Kelsey's going to pick up the slack receiving.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think that he's sitting on a gold pot that you can't miss out on. He's one of those guys that he's kind of etched himself into that previously owned by Gronk.
Yeah,
that echelon.
he's the new Gronk.
Right. So you're going to draft him, and you're going to have to take him in the second round.
Yeah.
He's not unless your league is really anti-tight ends. You're really not going to be taking. You're not going to get him anywhere past this second round. I mean,
Right. He could slide to the beginning of the third, but that's about it.
Yeah. So we'll see. And then Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
Number 2 across the board consensus, obviously, as well. He is coming in at 302 on the ADP side of things. I'm trying to remember. Where did he end up finish this past year for fantasy points?
Who, Ertz?
Yeah. Was he number 2? Yeah, he was number 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was number 2. He averaged all right, so here's the concept. So you got Travis Kelce. He had averaged 15 points a game in the half-point setup, and Ertz at 13.9.
Right. Kittle 13.4. So.
Now, the targets, though, was the big thing for Ertz. He had more targets than Kelce, but Kelce obviously had more yards and more touchdowns.
Yeah.
So just by a couple, but still, you can see targets are great, but the big thing is you've got to capitalize on these targets. So
Well, it hurt Ertz, too, because Wentz went out.
Right, and Goddard started kind of blooming as well,
Right.
which is another. This is the issue with that offense. Is my concern with Ertz. That'd be the only one if I put one on it.
Well, I don't because Foles spreads it around.
Right.
Wentz kind of like he loves.
He loves throwing it to Zach Ertz.
Yes, he does.
So ultimately, I think Zach Ertz is in a good spot. Now, as we piggybacked off of talking about that, and we talked about in the questions side of it, to me, Dallas Goedert is somebody to kind of keep an eye on.
Sure.
Most teams aren't traditionally like fantasy relevant to tight ends. However, if they're moving this ball and if Zach Ertz is to get hurt, Dallas Goedert immediately slides into being that tight end 1.
Yeah.
And he's a he's a top 8 tight end immediately in fantasy football on a weekly basis.
Well, didn't they lose Aguilar?
I think they're still trying to get, he's under contract 1 more year, I believe.
Oh, okay. I thought they lost him, and I know they lost Golden Tate, so all they really got's Jeffrey.
Right. So, and we all know that, we know Jordan Howard is not a pass catching back.
Nope.
So, it's going to be out of the receivers and the tight end for sure. So I like this. I like Zach Ertz, and he's played through injuries, which is a good thing. That's what you kind of want to see with some of these players, especially tight ends. 302 is still.
That's a little high.
It's high. I would say he's like a late 3rd, early 4th would be more
I'd say
comfortable.
4th round because you could get a really good running back or receiver in the 3rd.
Yeah, I agree. I'm surprised he's rose so high up on the ADP side of things.
It's just targets.
I guess.
He's going to get targeted. If Wentz gets hurt, that's going to be a problem because I don't even know who their backup is in Philadelphia.
I believe it's Nate Sudfeld
Cool.
from Indiana.
That's
maybe
that's great.
So not really fantasy football help.
That's
but-
when Jordan Howard will go up.
Right. Let's see. George Kittle coming in at 3. He is also a consensus number 3 across the board for all of us, and he's got a 307 ADP, which is a good thing because I think he, to me, 307 to early like 401, 402 is where I think Ertz and Kittle should really be going.
Right.
Back into that 3rd, beginning of the 4th for sure. So Kittle, to me, was highly successful because there was nobody else on that
Exactly.
offense. Now, I'm not saying that to pump the brakes and say, oh my gosh, he's not going to be good this year. Obviously, we've got him in the top 3. My concern is when you look at the offense that he was playing in, you had Goodwin got hurt throughout the year. Garcon got hurt. McKinnon was hurt. The running backs were so like interchangeable with injuries. Garoppolo got hurt.
So all those targets had to go somewhere.
And Pettis was a rookie, and I just feel like they didn't rely on him very much. But Kittle had 135 targets, but he was 88 on 135. That's not bad for reception-wise, but his yardage was more than Kelsey and Ertz.
Right, he had a lot of big plays.
And touchdowns
Right.
was not. He only had 5, but his yardage were like. I mean, he had 20 plus of the 20 plus catch yards. That's ridiculous.
He had like 2 70-yarders.
His longest one was 85 yards.
Yeah.
For largest one. Now, he had 13.4 points a game, so he started booming probably about, I'd say, a third through the season, and he just kind of carried the rest of the year.
Yep.
And he just kind of continued to get better and better with more injuries on that offense, essentially. So I just think we're looking at a guy that we're not sure exactly how much. Now, he's going to take a hit a little bit. He's going to regress, obviously, a little bit from last year, receptions. I think what you're going to see this year with the offense being a little bit better is I think you'll see the uptick in quarterbacks. Not quarterbacks, but you'll see the touchdown-wise, obviously, is the big thing for me. I think you'll see an uptick in his touchdown receptions this year, where he might slow down on reception, like targets. But he'll still see, I still think he's an 1,000 yards reception guy, and I'm thinking he's somewhere in that 8 to 10 touchdowns this year.
Well, he's proven that he was somebody you have to game plan for now. Last year he was kind of under the radar.
Right.
And he blew up, so now teams are going to be looking for him.
Right. And then number 4, Hunter Henry, ADP of 612, so way, I'd say middle of that NFL, middle of your fantasy drafts, kind of that middle point for you guys almost. We've got, myself and Trimboli's got him at 4, Blackburn's got it at 5, so pretty much the same. It's kind of like when we talk about the next guy, I think it's kind of interchangeable. We both all agree that they're right there on that same tier.
Right.
So
I like Hunter Henry too because Tyrell Williams is gone.
Right, and I know Mike Williams kind of was the beneficiary of the red zone, so I think that Hunter Henry is going to see obviously a ton of red zone opportunities. And I kind of feel like it helps. Hunter Henry's going to help Melvin Gordon a little bit and not have to be so abused and bruised between the tackles so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I think getting him at 6'12", I think is a good spot to have him. And he's one of those guys that might be one of those late guys in the draft or middle of the draft that you're taking that ends up being a top 3 or top 2 tight end potentially. I mean, potential is there. So. And then number 5, this is the guy we talked about being potentially interchanged with Hunter Henry, is O.J. Howard out of Tampa Bay.
Yes.
5'10" on the ADP, so towards the end of the 5th round. Myself and Trimboli's got him at 5, and then Blackburn, you got him at 4. So
yeah,
I think it's ultimately about the same, still interchangeable like with Henry.
Yeah, I just think O.J. Howard's big playability. He's faster. He's more athletic, and he proved last year. I think he had 4 plays of over 60 yards for touchdowns.
Yeah, he got injured was the big thing for him.
Yeah,
I think he was
booming
booming before he got injured, and then it was just like, well, I mean, it just kind of stunk for him personally. But
well, I mean, when he came back, he didn't miss a beat, and surprisingly, Cameron Brate didn't pick up the slack like we thought he would.
No. So, and then this offense now with Jameis back as the quarterback, he has a tendency to favor the tight end and throwing it to him.
Yep.
So
especially in the red zone. Yeah.
Good thing for O.J. Howard to walk back into a quarterback that actually throws him the ball. So, number 6. Eric Ebron out of Indianapolis, sitting at 5'11", so 1 pick after O.J. Howard, currently in mock drafts. I've got him at 7. You guys have got him at 6, so still I think about the same. I mean, I feel like 4 through 7 are kind of like mix matching.
Well, I think Ebron might take a slight hit this year because of Funchess now.
Yeah.
But I still think Andrew Luck, I mean, he targeted the heck out of him.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
especially in that red zone. Once they got inside the red zone, you could almost guarantee Ebron a couple touchdowns a game.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is for Ebron is he had 110 targets. He only had 750 yards, but he had 13 touchdowns.
Right.
That's the big thing is the red zone targets was the big thing for him.
Yeah, he had what was it, three games in a row with 2 touchdowns each?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Funchess is going to take some of those targets away, maybe the short.
I'd say downfield.
Right. So I just think we're still going to see, I think, ultimately Eric Ebron excel in that red zone is where I still think the touchdowns are going to carry him.
That's his bread and butter.
So, number 7, Evan Ingram.
Eric Ingram.
Evan Ingram, New York Giants tight end, 601 on the ADP. I've got him at 6, Blackburn 7, and Trimboli at 8. So, still, right around that same spot. I just have him at 6 because, for me personally, obviously it could be interchanged. I think he's got more opportunity in his offense than Eric Ebron, and I think that's the only reason why I switched him to 6 versus 7.
You're right.
So the offense without OBJ is going to be looking for a main reception guy down the field, and I think Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram, obviously, I think we saw in his rookie year excel big time when
OBJ was out for the
hurt,
season.
and then
Yep.
Sterling Shepard got hurt, and they just were trying to figure out somebody to get the ball down the field.
I agree with you, but I think Ebron's role, like we just talked about, was in the red zone. So he's going to get those touchdowns, I think. The Giants struggled in the red zone last year, unless it was Saquon Barkley.
True.
So, and without OBJ being there now, I think they're going to show more attention to Ingram, unless they bring in another high-profile rookie wide receiver to help out.
Yeah.
But I still like Evan Ingram.
All right. And then number 8, newly signed tight end to the New Orleans Saints, Jared Cook. Got a 9. It's going to be interesting. I like him as one of those late round guys. He's coming in at 908 on the ADP, so middle to back into that 9th round, which is about the time that most of us, if you're not getting like a Travis Kelce, most of the time this is the rounds that you're kind of looking at these sleeper tight ends.
Yeah, and he's definitely one. Drew Brees is making Ben Watson look good.
Yeah, so ultimately I think he's the number 3 reception guy or receiving option on that offense behind Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara in some fashion. I talked about this on the running back and the wide receiver show last week. So
yep.
I like this, and we've got him. Me and you both have him at 8, and then Trembo's got him at 9. So I think this is about comfortable for where we all think he's going to be landing.
Yep.
I mean, the guy, where did he finish last year in a horrible, what was it, 3, 4, 5? Yeah.
Yeah, he was top 5, but he was the only option in Oakland.
That would make sense since he had 100, just over 100 targets.
Right.
But he had 6 touchdowns, and he averaged 11 fantasy, just almost shy of 12 points a game. So
the Jordy Nelson project did not work out.
No.
Amari Cooper was traded.
Right. So he was the only guy.
He was the guy, like the guy.
So I think he goes into an offense where he doesn't have to be the guy, but he still. I think the offense that he goes into, I think has more opportunity for touchdowns essentially.
Absolutely, because you're not going to be able to double team him. You got to worry about Thomas. You got to worry about Kamara coming out, and then I can't even name some of those other guys that Drew Brees made look good last year.
I was just saying, you said Ted Ginn, and then you have I just drew a blank on the guy that I just thought of. Anyways,
it doesn't matter. Jared Cook's going to be running free.
Right. So, and then number 9 for all of you Cleveland Brown fans, David Njoku coming in at the 9 spot, 6'10" ADP. So his ADP has definitely rose a lot since early this offseason. Once they traded OBJ, his ADP kind of started going up pretty quickly. I've got him at 9. Blackburn's got him at 12. Trembo's got him at 7. So this is the first kind of I would say
big shift,
bigger discrepancy of opinion.
Well, the reason why I got him at 12 is because he finished 9th last year.
Right.
And if you look at it, it was basically him and Landry getting everything. Now you got Landry, you got OBJ, you still got Callaway there, you got Chubb. So I think some targets are going to get taken away.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. I agree with you. I think the regression on the target side will be definite. I'm just hoping maybe he gets a little bit more opportunity in the red zone with the options.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that plays out, but he's a good player. I'm not taking anything away from him. I just think with OBJ there now, there's going to be more pressure to get him the ball.
True. And then here's the consensus. This is one I was talking about, consensus 10, which we normally don't see a consensus this late in the top 12s for us. But Vance McDonald sitting at the 10-12 ADP, so literally the last pick in a 12-man league in the 10th round. So this is perfect for him because I think he's that sleeper pick.
He's my sleeper all the way. I think he has the potential to be top 5.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's got a top 5 potential. We've got him all at 10 across the board, obviously, but that's just because we want to kind of see how this offense is that are missing some pieces ahead of him.
Right.
How they shake out. Evan Ingram in the Giants offense. Are they going to bring in another wide receiver, a young wide receiver through this draft? Jared Cook, how is he going to factor in?
Ebron.
Now with some of these Funches being brought in.
All those players have multiple weapons, even Hunter Henry.
Right.
So
I think he's one of those guys that could easily slide up to right here behind O.J. Howard.
Sure.
So or even ahead of him, depending on how the offense goes. Because I think that, to me, Pittsburgh's offense is better than Tampa Bay's offense in the overall scheme of things.
And New York.
Right. So I think when you look at the offense, I think maybe Cleveland, New Orleans, I think are pretty good offenses, obviously. Indianapolis is a pretty good offense. It's just we're trying to figure out what his role is. Eric Ebron is going to be with Funchess brought in. So I think we're just kind of playing it safe at the moment and not trying to hype him up too much.
Oh, that's why this is the way too early.
Right. Once we get to closer to the draft season, I would not be surprised if Vance McDonald's not sitting at like 6 or 7 for us.
Absolutely.
So I just think with the removal of Jesse James, that's the big one. That's a big thing in the removal of Antonio Brown, like we talked about. Over 100-some targets for Antonio Brown that's going to need to be dispersed to somebody. Yep. And Juju can only receive
handle
the ball
so much.
So we'll see. I do like Vance McDonald. The more I've kind of looked at his film and watched some of the highlights from last year. Plus, the guy has the ultimate stiff arm from last year. I mean, he ended up making the guy.
Was it Chris Conti?
Yeah, he ended up hurting the guy to the point where he was on IR for the rest of the year. I mean, it was I don't know if it was humility because he got stiff armed that he got put on IR, or the fact he actually got physically injured. But
I love that play. That was great.
I mean, that was wow. I keep replaying that in my head. I'm like, that was just a nasty stiff arm. So
if you go on YouTube and type that in, Vance McDonald stiff arm, you'll see the coaching staff when he does that. All their faces just light up and they're jumping up and down in the background. It's hilarious. I believe
Cameron Hayward was kind of like a.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
So, now number 11, Austin Hooper out of Atlanta, 1307. So he is a way late pick in the mock drafts right now. I've got him at 11. Tremblay's got him at 11. You got him at 9. So we're pretty comfortable that he's right on that cusp of inside the top 10 or right outside of it. But
he picked it up last year.
Yeah, I just think that the offense is going to get back to the way it was a couple years ago with Dirk Cutter coming back in and it being the offensive guy. So I think this offense is going to start kind of moving the ball down the field through passing versus through running.
Yeah, I love Julio, obviously. Right. Ridley is going to be a good mid to late round guy. And then Austin Hooper, he finished 6th last year.
Right. And, I mean, Sanu's still there. I mean, they have Ito Smith, who I don't think is going to factor too much in the passing game. Devonta Freeman, let's see what health-wise, how he holds up. But I do agree, I think, if you miss out on some of these middle of the round guys, because let's be honest, if you're drafting Austin Hooper, you're not even sniffing or looking at these first 3 or 4 guys that we've talked about with Kittle, Kelsey, Ertz. You know where your niche is in drafting tight ends, and that's what you're looking at. So Vance McDonald, Austin Hooper, those guys that are going in that 10 through 13 round, and I mean as we talk about the next couple guys, but ultimately to me, I like Austin Hooper in this going into this offense, and he's probably maybe the 3rd or 4th best option in the receiving game, depending on how they incorporate the running backs as well as Mohamed Sanu this year. Because I think it's going to be Julio and Ridley be your first 2 primary reception guys, and then it'll be everybody fall in line behind that. So if nothing else, if Hooper can be a small receptions or little to no receptions but high touchdown rate, that's fine. I can deal with that.
So he had 88 targets last year, 71 catches.
All right, so he caught the ball a lot. So his catch to target ratio was really good.
He only had 4 touchdowns though. That's what hurt him.
And I think that was because of the offensive style that was being called. So
I mean, Julio didn't have his first touchdown until like week 8.
This is also true, and he still finished as a good wide receiver. So now this one's the one that I'm like, I feel like we just didn't know what to do with him because he technically is on probably an offense that's going to try to throw the ball obviously now more because of the removal of Jordan Howard.
Right.
But Trey Burton coming in at 12, 8-11 on the ADP. I've got him at 12, and you guys got him at 13, so probably about the same. But ultimately, I think he's just a question mark guy. It's just what is he? Is he a high receptions, low touchdown, or is he a low reception, high touchdown, or is he just an even kill? You're getting what was his average for the week-to-week basis? It wasn't very good.
No, but he finished 7th overall.
Yeah, I just feel like he had good games. 7.5 fantasy points and half point. That's not what you want.
No, it's not. But I mean, if you look at it, Tariq Cohen got a lot of catches.
Right, and I think that's what you're going to see. I think he's fighting for probably maybe 3rd opportunity in this offense because you're going to have Cohen.
Yep.
Allen Robinson's going to demand his targets, and then I think it's between Anthony Miller or Shaheen is going to be the other guy. Those 3 guys are going to be rotating. It's going to be based on who's open or based on the play call or where they're at on the field and all that stuff. I don't know, man. I'm not excited about Trey Burton.
I wasn't last year either. I'm not a huge fan of Trey Burton.
I liked him because I thought the opportunity was going to be there, but then they showed me differently last year, and I don't like his draft spot. Eighth round into the 8th round is too high for me.
Yeah,
Still.
yeah. You need to get down to like that 10, 11.
I was gonna say 11 to 12 was my comfort for Trey Burton. So anybody who's drafted him in the 8th round, more power to you. You can have him every day.
Cool.
I don't need him.
No.
So, now Kyle Rudolph coming in at 13, got him at 1310 on the ADP scale. I've got him at 16. Trimboli's got him at 15, and you got him at 11. So I'll tell you, at least I can't answer for Trimboli, but for me, I think the biggest question mark is what we're going to see in this offense. I know that the offense, supposedly Dilla Filippo was the tight end whisperer, but I don't think he ever spoke to Kyle Rudolph,
No.
so I don't know what that was. But to me, I'm just concerned what we're going to see. Once the new coordinator came in, it was Diggs, number 1 reception guy, Thielen, number 2, Cook, number 3. And that's how it worked.
But if you looked in the red zone when the new offensive coordinator came in, as soon as they got down there, they looked Rudolph's way.
So that's what I'm hoping, and I guess that's what I'm trying not to like completely dog him on the like ranking wise. He might be somebody that I eventually move up to this a top 12, but I want to see a little bit more out of the offense. I want to see what they do
Right.
in the draft. I want to see how this offense looks in training camp.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll be the red zone guy, but again, unfortunately, that's another team. You got Thielen, who was the number 1 wide receiver last year for a while.
Right.
You got Diggs. You got Cook. I mean,
Right.
they got so many weapons.
And they didn't bring in they let Latavius Murray go, so that tells me they want to be more balanced of pass and run and not so like game
Run heavy.
scripted.
Well, they signed Amir Abdullah. That's who took.
That's a receiving guy.
Exactly.
So that's why I think that when we're looking at it, I think they're going to want to throw the ball more. And I think that they want a balance of it. So it's not like, oh, Dalvin Cook came in. Okay, we know this is a good chance. This is a high-end potential. Right. Latavius Murray, this is a run play probably.
Well, that's what their problem was last year. I
right.
mean,
It's game script. And I think that ultimately I think they could potentially be a little bit something more, obviously. But so to me, and when I'm looking at this list, excluding the top 3 guys, who out of this range of 4 through 13 has the best chance, in your opinion, to hit 4? Like to move up to 4? Like who do you think has the highest percentage overall to move up to 4 by draft time?
honestly, I'm going to say O.J. Howard
Okay.
or Vance McDonald.
I was going to say O.J. Howard's sitting at 5 for us. I think ultimately he could be one that snakes up into that top 4 spot.
Because I don't think Pittsburgh's going to get another tight end.
I don't either. So I think Vance McDonald is a big one. I think he's the one that could potentially move the most out of all of these guys I mentioned. Kyle Rudolph could be a sneaky guy that gets in the top 8.
Yeah, but he's not gonna climb farther than that.
No, I don't think so either. So when I'm looking at everything across the board, the biggest jump for me, I think, is Vance McDonald up into that top 5 talk, potentially, obviously.
Right.
And I just think that it's ultimately what that Pittsburgh offense does and what they look like and where they put the wide receivers. If they put Juju in that slot spot and kind of put Moncrief and Washington on the outside and let Juju kind of roam and take coverage.
Yep.
So ultimately, that's kind of what we're looking at. So So to go back to, go back to the original, what was the listener question?
What's our top 3 tight ends?
It's actually a cross-the-board consensus.
We all have it, yeah. It's Kelsey, Ertz, Kittle.
Right. So for Nacho Taco, it's Kelsey, Ertz, Kittle, ultimately. So that's a big thing for tight ends. And I just think that this is the new group or crop of tight ends that we're looking at. They're going to be that upper echelon for the next couple of years. For years,
Yeah,
it was
they're all younger.
right. For years, it was Gates, it was
Gronk.
and Jordan Reed when he was healthy.
Jimmy Graham,
Greg Olsen were kind of in there. So I think this is kind of the new generation of young guys. I mean, you really think about it. 1 through 5 that we have are all young guys.
Yep.
Kelsey,
I mean,
Ertz, Kittle,
Ebron's not. He's in his upper
right.
20s, but
So,
Evan Ingram's young.
Jared
and-
Cook's old.
Yeah,
third.
and Njoku, McDonald, Hooper.
I mean, all these guys are on the younger spectrum for tight end purposes. They could be around for a long time.
And we didn't even, I mean, of course, we're not going to talk about it now, but it's closer to NFL draft time. You got these 3 main rookie tight ends coming in.
Right, you got, I forget.
Noah Fant.
And I forget how, I don't want to butcher his name. Hawkinson, I think,
Yeah,
is another one.
and then you got Irv Smith.
Yeah, I mean, these are 3 guys that could potentially come in and be somebody fantasy. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to be a top 3 tight end for fantasy ball, but they could be a top 10 guy and be like a sneaky play, or even they could be a tight end 1 by the end of the year, potentially just because of overall opportunity. Because the team that they drafted to doesn't have a good tight end, or doesn't have a tight end at all, so worth playing. So.
You know what I just noticed?
Yeah.
We don't have Jordan Reed on this list. That's been a first time since we've started the show. That
Right. Ultimately, I agree with you. I think that was the biggest thing for me when I was looking at it. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Where is he at? And I look, I don't think we have him. I think he's like in the.
I think I got him at like 16 or 17,
I
to be
think
honest.
we have him at like. I think I have him at 18 or 19. So it's a
And it's not
comfortable-
on him. I
No.
mean, he stayed healthy last year for the most part. It's just, I don't know what the quarterback spot's going to be yet.
I will tell you, of a guy not mentioned on our list, I think to me, a guy like Jordan Reed, if healthy, and they bring in a solid quarterback, he could potentially sneak into this like 13, 14 range easily.
Oh, I think he'll be, if he stays healthy and we have like say we get a Rosen or a Haskins, somebody, good like that, I think he could sneak up into the 10 to 9 range.
Yeah.
But that's his ceiling.
All right. And another one we don't see on here, Mr. Reliable, Jason Witten, not even on this.
Well,
It's a joke, believe me. He's like a steady 3 to 5 points. His highs are like 8, his lows like 2.
Yeah.
It's like in half point PPR, you're guaranteeing he's going to have probably about 2 or 3 receptions, and you're hoping maybe like a 10-yard touchdown.
yeah, I
That's
mean,
banking what you're getting with him.
and Eifert, who's usually a mainstay on here, he just can't stay healthy.
No, him and who's the
Jimmy Graham's not on here.
No, there's some big names that I was kind of when I was doing this, looking at it, I was like, man, I'm surprised that Jimmy Graham did not hit the top 13. I'm surprised that Eifert didn't hit the top 13. Reed, all these guys, they're all like, we're looking at them ultimately, but it's just, I think biggest thing is like injury purposes for these guys. So
You know who else I like? He's not on here obviously, but Dilly for Seattle.
Yeah, who was it?
Will
Somebody commented
Dissly.
on that.
Yeah.
Somebody commented and said, "Where's Will Dissly or whatever?" in
Well, I
one of our
mean, we
chats.
didn't get enough sample size last year.
Yeah,
For the 3 or 4 weeks that he was available, I mean, he was blowing it up.
right. So I don't know. We'll see with these tight ends though, but
Except for these rookies.
the rookie. Once we kind of get into that, so
Well, all the mock drafts right now have New England taking Hawkinson.
yeah. Well, that would be whoever. I will tell you, if New England goes and drafts one of these top 3 tight ends, he immediately is in my mind, a tight end 1 potential easily.
Yeah,
So-
because I mean they're gonna have to replace the Gronk targets.
Yeah. So, and then before we kind of wrap up things, I just want to tell you guys, we've got, I think it's down to 2 guys in the March Madness bracket set up right now. So, the guys that we mentioned last week, Aaron and I just drew a blank, Jeremy, do not, with the loss of Duke and a loss of Kentucky, it pretty well wiped their brackets out, unfortunately. And Gonzaga.
Yeah,
The guy that's still in, I think he has Michigan State, and I think Virginia were the 2 teams he's got in the final. So
they both got a good shot.
very good chance. So he's sitting pretty. And I forget who. There's a dark horse guy that potentially could, if Virginia loses, potentially could be because he has Michigan State and somebody else, whoever the other team was. So
Texas
Tech.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so we'll see how that goes. But we just tell you guys thanks for participating in that. It's fun. And whoever wins, we've got a nice care package set up for you from Body Armor. It's going to send out to you guys. It's really a lot of cool things as well. So, tell you guys thanks for joining us on today's show, whether it's on the podcast or on YouTube, or if you're watching us on the local Dayton Access channel on DATV. We appreciate you guys tuning in for the first time, if that's it. And if you guys are returning, we appreciate you guys continuing to watch. I know that it's kind of like a certain type of like mantra topic-wise through the offseason. We're trying to get as much information to you guys before the NFL draft, and then once the NFL draft happens, the ball will start rolling quicker, and you'll get a lot more information. You'll get a lot more of like, well, this is now what we're looking at, all the way up till your fantasy draft season.
Yeah, because
so
shortly after the draft, teams will be starting OTAs. Then they'll have
Right.
rookie mini camps, and then next thing you know, we'll be into NFL training camp
right.
preseason, and then the injury bug will happen.
Right. So, but ultimately, we want to tell you guys thanks for tuning in to today's show. Whether it's you're a new viewer or listener, or if you're a returning viewer or listener, we appreciate you guys tuning in. So, you can follow all of our personal accounts at jpickle_th8ff, at jblackburn th8ff, at ftrim th8ff. The podcast handle itself is at th8 or at the Hateful Eight FF. So we've got all that, and then shout out to, I think it's Ryan McDowell, who just put us on a list of the top fantasy analysts and handles to follow for redraft. We appreciate that. We appreciate you guys for voting for that. You can follow, or you can visit our site, thehateful8ff.com. It's got articles, apparel as well, and then not to mention, we've got the draft loadout starting to kind of get ramped up behind the scenes, and we will get that going as well. So Matt Spencer's got that behind closed doors, kind of getting that ready to go for you guys and get that ramped up, so that way when you guys are ready for draft season, he's going to have everything for that. So we'll get that out to you guys, information as we get more of it. So and then next week we're trying to decide between doing like an early, way early mock draft, like before the NFL draft, or kind of talking about some draft busts from last year that kind of watch out for, as whether they're still a potential in a bad situation or maybe improvement from 2018 wise. So we'll let you guys know probably about halfway through the week what we're thinking about. But we appreciate you guys tuning in for today's show. That's a big thing for us. And Trimble will be back next week. So
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, you got anything else?
Nope, just keep the Twitter questions coming to us. It doesn't matter what time or any time. All three of us will answer, or you can send it to the podcast handle itself.
Yeah.
I love the interaction with everybody.
Yeah, we also have, the website. There's a tab on the website. You can ask us a question, or you can even give us a phone call, which is on the website as well, and leave a voicemail, and you can hear your voice on an upcoming show. So
And we'll get back to you pretty quick.
yeah. So, all right, we'll see you guys next week.